Well, no, I guess what I'm saying is, so now that we know what does happen whenever you have a loose cannon at the helm, uh, this seems like something that should be revisited, because I don't trust our ability to not vote for someone like this again.
I don't
Uh,
I don't either. I mean, I gotta tell you, like the real crux of my political career has been centered around an idea, going back to the first run of Don't Worry About the Government, going back to when you and I were doing CMN News. Ooh, you're here. We can talk about this. You remember the CMN News episode that we did when I got you and I got Kevin Costola and I got Jordan, and I was like, we need to do like a full coverage of the Glenn Beck rally on the Capitol. Remember that? And like
think
you all
so,
kind of
yeah.
thought I was a little bit crazy at the time when I made I know, and I also made all those shows like way too fucking long and no one listened to them but ourselves. I know all these things. I'm in my head, but I'm not totally unaware of who I am. I know me well enough. But looking back, I wish I didn't. I wish I still had those shows, because to me that is such a super important inflection point of where the right has gone. I was worried at the time that Glenn Beck was going to run for president. Glenn Beck, the guy who was selling conspiracies, birtherism, an overweight, blonde haired white dude with charismatic pro wrestling style oeuvre, selling a mythos to the right that we've been screwed. They're screwing your boy. They've been screwing all of us, and there's a deep conspiracy against us. A lot of the same terms, up to and including deep state. The conspiracies about the Democrats. He was a real forerunner. That Fox News show was a real forerunner of where the Republican Party went. And I get how at the time it just seemed like he's Glenn Beck. But Glenn Beck, despite his inability to cash in this era at all, really was where this party ended up going. And I agree with you. I think that worse than Bush happened. My big fear from back in that era, one of my big talking points, because when you're young and you're getting started this, you got like 5. And if you get a good one, you run that good one into the ground, damn it. One of mine was, we're going to get worse than Bush. And I'm worried that Obama's not doing enough because we're eventually going to get worse than Bush. And I eventually gave it up because I felt like I was getting tired. But the reality is, it was right. We got worse than Bush. And Obama's inability to realize that worse could happen, Obama's tag team buddy, Joe Biden, was right there alongside him saying, I can work with him, Jack. Don't worry, pal. And this is part of the reason why I didn't support him. Joe Biden and Obama didn't take it seriously, and we now have worse than Bush. We have Trump, and I'm with you, dude. I worry a lot that we're going to get worse than Trump. I think he's going to run again. I know there are a lot of people and guests on this show and people I like, and I love you guys, and reasonable people can disagree on this. I'm just saying, hear me now on this one and believe, or hear me now. Don't even have to apologize to me on this one later. He's not done. It will not stop. There is going to be a massive price for extraction if they do extract him, and unless he dies or he is defeated at the ballot box a second time, it is not over. His power and his thrall on this party, and more importantly, even once he goes, because of this kayfabe narrative that he spun for 9 weeks, so deep that they led a riot on the Capitol yesterday. And that his kayfabe, his lies, his narrative is so deep that he led the country into the worst pandemic, at the worst circumstances for COVID-19 anywhere on the planet. The most dangerous place right now to be is either Tennessee or New Jersey on the entire planet if you're worried about COVID-19. And that's Donald Trump. That is Donald Trump. And he picked up voters. He added them on. This is not over. He has not been defeated because of the fecklessness of the Democrats and the Republicans in their response in this. I'm sorry. I don't want you to feel like I'm yelling at you. I'm pissed off about this because this needs to be over. It's not going to be over until he is really. I've even sort of given up on what forcible pushback looks like at this point because I can't imagine or conceive what it looks like in my head given Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer. It would literally be like Julian Castro, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, all of them going, move aside, grandpas. We're taking over here. We're going to smash some fucking heads. And that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So at this point, it's baked in the cake. He's not done. And so you're right. You're right, dude. At long last, the end of this rant, yeah, no, there's going to be worse than Trump. And I don't say it with glee, and it's nothing we should be proud of, and it's a future we should fight with every ounce of our being. And if you're someone who considers yourself a supporter of Antifa, anti-fascism, and that's a thing that animates your existence, yeah, this should be number one issue. I don't care about a fucking policy initiative.
Well,
This fascism thing is real. This fascist movement is real. It got really animated yesterday. Those images that they got will nourish them for weeks, months, and years to come.
I think the only action that I can really focus on right now is who we have a list now of people that are still sticking up for him, and how the country reacts to these people in 2022 when a presidential election is not on the line, but this movement is still in Congress and is still alive in Congress. That is going to be when we really find out how this nation really takes this movement seriously or not, because it's going to be a midterm election. There's not going to be a presidential figure on the line, but it's going to be close enough to yesterday and whatever happens in the next 2 weeks. If you can slip away from this and forget about how Congress matters just because there's not a presidential figure at the top of the ballot.
Or just because you don't like Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden, like it's not about liking them. Like my outrage here is not like, oh man, they disrespected Nancy Pelosi's office. She's such a saint. Oh wow, Nancy Pelosi. Like it's not about that. It's deeper than that, right? Like the office of the Speaker of the House is bigger than Nancy Pelosi or Paul Ryan. They're small people occupying, to me, a big and important thing, which is a position of power that has the ability, when executed properly, to bring tremendous good to literally millions of people. Donald Trump does not live up to the office that he occupies, but it's a wonderful office that has the ability to deliver tremendous good to untold thousands and millions, and around the world too, if you want to change your war and peace policy. The offices themselves, objectively, not the people who occupy them, are actually good and wonderful things, in my opinion. It is the people who occupy them who leave a lot to be desired. But when I see the very offices themselves disrespected, I mean, Trump does that himself with his own actions. Yeah, it pisses me off on a deep, deep level because, like, if I want the good government's going to come from those exact same chairs. The good government's going to be pulled on those exact same levers, played on that exact same piano.
Yeah, I'm to kind of circle back to some more specifics to what happened here. The younger, or I guess middle-aged woman who died in the conflict. I guess there were 4 total deaths, and one of them was in conflict, and the others were medical emergencies.
And you have to imagine, I mean, I think this is kind of underappreciated. How reckless all of this was yesterday to do during the middle of COVID, because like the deaths that will really tally from this day, like we won't really know that until about a month from now. But you have to think, if thousands of people flew in from all over the country, I'm not talking about the deaths in DC. They all got on airplanes yesterday. They all went through airports. They're all going to get back on airplanes. They're going to all go back through airport. Like all these little COVID mules working for Donald Trump. I mean, this is the other part that makes what they did so irresponsible. And another reason, and another very important reason, why the penalties on this should be so severe for the elected officials and everyone who participated in this, because all these people have the potential to spread death well after the actual event.